Daf Yud Dalet Amud Aleph, the second line from the top. We discussed earlier about the Chunya, that he was the Chayfer Sheikh and he was the digger of ditches, and he benefited the Tzibor. He benefited the Tzibor by providing them waters, digging the ditches and caves, and therefore he was Mizaka the Rabbin. Nevertheless, Omar Rabbi Elazar, Omar Rabbi Acha, different Girsa, Omeis, Binoy, Betsama. But his son died of thirst, even though he was Mizaka the Rabbin, he provided water for the Tzibor, but he was punished in Meis Binoy, Betsama, in the thirst. Omar Rabbi Chanina, so we can see from this, Rabbi Chanina says, Man Dam Rachman Avatran, whoever says that the Rabbi Shalom is Avatran, he ignores a person's affairs, and he looks the other way and he doesn't punish them. Yisvatron b'nei ma'avi. His bowels should be relaxed, meaning he should be afflicted, he should be punished with the stomach ailment, with diarrhea. Meaning it's not so. The Kodesh Baruch Hu does not ignore and overlook a ma'asim. Elamarach ruchai v'gavadidei. What he does is he has erech apayim, and the midah of rachmim therefore gives the person an opportunity, gives him time. The person doesn't get punished right away. He gives him time to be chayzer b'tshuva, be misakin his ma'asim. But if he's not misakin his ma'asim, ultimately then there will be a punishment. So in some manner we must say over here that kivyochol lefi madrigosoi, there was something lacking in his ma'asim, and therefore there was a punishment. Omer Rav Acha. So where do we see this? That Kodesh Baruch Hu is for tzaddikim. We see this. He was a big tzaddik. He was Mazak the Ram. Nevertheless, he was punished. Where do we see that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is very meticulous and exacting in punishment from the tzaddikim, particularly from tzaddikim? So the pasuk says, "Usviva nisara ma'id," and surrounding Rabbeinu Shalom, it's like a tempest. It's turbulent. It's the surrounding areas are nisra ma'id. It's turbulent. Medaktek imam kichutasara. So we darshan the nisra ma'id. We darshan that the pasuk says with a samach. We darshan it as a sin and a lashon of sara of sa'ares. Is medaktik kechuta sara, even like the width of a hairbreadth. He's medaktik with the ones that are close to him, that the ones who surround him, the tzaddikim, he is very meticulous and exacting in punishment dafka from them. Amar Rav Yesi, Lemitamazay says that's not the source. There's a different makar. Elamin ma dechsiv. It's from the following. What it says: V'naira al kol sviva. That there's naira on siva, on all al kol siva, those who surround him. Mayra al akrayvim yasir min achaykim. The ones who are close to the Rebbeinu Shalom, the fear on them is more than those who are distant. Rabbi Chagai b'shem Rav Shmuel ben Nachman said the following similar ma'isa. Ma'isa b'chosed. There was a ma'isa with certain chosed. Shai chayfer barish yichnu ma'aras la'ivdei la'ivra v'shavim. He would be mezak the rabbin. We would dig pits and ditches and ma'aras and caves for the people who would travel, so that they have water. They'd have water, and in order to provide them and for their needs. One time his daughter was traveling to her wedding, and a river overflowed and swept her away. And there was a terrible, terrible tragedy, and people from all over came to be menachem over. So bon menachme, they wanted to be menachem, and he was not makabel tanchumim. He was not makabel the consolation. Oh, the Rebbe Pinchas Meir Gabeir, Pinchas came to him and boy menachem, and he wanted to be menachem. And he wasn't makabel tachnunim. Amar Lion, Rav Pinchas told them, they knew Chasidchan. This is what you consider your Chasid. This is your Chasid, a person who's not makabel the judgment of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rabbi, they said to him, Kach v'kach haya maisa. This was the maisa v'kach hirloi. This is what he did. This was what his Ma'asim Tavim, and this is what happened to him. Omar, it said, could it be that this person is Machabed Rabbeinu Shalom with water and he gets punished with water? So it can't be. So miyad nafla havar be'ir. So immediately there was a rumor that spread through the city that his daughter was alive. And the daughter of this man came. And Ista Amre, some say that how was she saved? That she was caught onto a branch, and therefore that's how she was saved from the flood. So Ista Amre Isaris, that she caught onto a branch, and that's what saved her. Ista Amre Malach Yorad Musar Pinchas ben Yair V'Tzilah, that a Malach in the image of Pinchas ben Yair came and saved her. Now we have in this Maisa, L'chairo, it seemed to be a stira to the Maisa that we had before, which we discussed before, that when we had Nechunya, and even though he was Mizak the Rabbim, he was punished with this Maisa. So how do we reconcile the two? We're saying over here that can't be that he was the person who was Mizak the Rabbim would be punished in this way, and yet we have the Maisa by Nechunya that he was. So there are a couple of approaches. Perhaps one approach is that the Taisus says in Yavamas that it wasn't that it was a river that overflowed, it was a bore that she fell into, and a bore of water, and it was actually the bore that he himself dug. So meaning, to that extent, if it's the bore that he dug to be Mezakeh the Rabbim, there would not have been the punishment in the Maisa itself, when he did the Maisa itself of this mitzvah, of this Maisa mitzvah, the punishment would have come that way. So in the case by Nechunya, it wasn't directly through his Maisa. Over here, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair saw it couldn't be that in the very Maisa that he did, the Maisa mitzvah, that the punishment would come. Perhaps another approach is that he saw that since he was not Mekabel Tanchumim, and he was a Chassid, meaning the Pshat must have been that he's not Mekabel Tanchumim, like the Tikkun L'Chanan says, because based on the Medrash, and Rashi brings down that it's a mace, there's a bracha nishtach min alei, but someone who is alive, then he's not Mekabel Tanchumim on somebody who is alive. And therefore, for the fact that this Chassid was not Mekabel Tanchumim was a siman that the daughter was still alive, and therefore it must have been that this Chassid did not fall down in his Ma'asim. There was no shortcoming in his Ma'asim, and therefore there would not have been a punishment in this manner to this Chassid who had the Madrega of a Chassid. There wasn't a shortcoming. He wouldn't have been punished in this way. So Al Kolpanim, and therefore the Maisa was that she was alive. Continuing on, the Mishnah said that listing the people who did the different functions they had in the base of Mikdash, Kavini, Kroz. It says Kavini was the Kroz. He was the crier. He used to call out. What was the mice over there? Shahayim Machriz bebeis HaMikdash. He used to cry out in the base of Mikdash. Ma'ayim. What did he say? He said, Imdu. He said, rise up. HaKohanim la'avodah. The Kohanim should start to do the avodah Levim l'duchanim, and the Levim should go to the duchan, to the platform, and where they did their shira, their song, be Yisrael ma'amodam, and Yisrael to their mamed. When they were marked with the karbonos, there were groups of Yisraelim that were there to be present, to be the shluchim, to be present on the korban. So therefore, he said, he called out to everyone to go to their stations, to do the avodah, their respective avodas that they were in charge with. V'Yisrael ma'amonim. Agrivas HaMelech shamakoloi ad shmeina parasois. Agrivas heard his voice. He was such a strong voice. He was a crier. He called out in such a strong voice. Agrivas HaMelech heard it from a distance of 8 parasois. V'nosaloi matanas harbe. And he gave him matanas harbe. He heard, so impressed with his voice, it called out for Shmeina parasos is approximately between it's close to 3 miles, between 2.3 and 3 miles, he gave Matanos Harbe. Ben Gever al Ila Sharm. So the Mishnah continues to say that Ben Gever, he was in charge of the locking of the gates. Now, the Gemara is going to bring down a machlekes about a Mishnah, Mesachas Yuma, that relates to this loshon of Ben Gever, this name of Ben Gever that's given over here. The Mishnah in Yuma says that they started the Avodah in the morning with the Trumas Hadeshin, and that was done by the Kriyas HaGever. So what does it mean, Kriyas HaGever? So Tergim Rav Kumidave Rabbi Shila, he interpreted it as follows: Kroa Gavra Achres Kraiser. The man called and he made his proclamation, so therefore they called out that now is the time for the Trumas Hadeshin. So that is what it means, Kriyas HaGever, the calling out of the man who called out, and he said, now is the time to begin. So Omrullah, the Talmidim said to him, Emar Kro Tanagoyla. Well, it also means that the Kriyas HaGever could also mean the calling out of a rooster. So why don't you interpret it to mean that at the time when the rooster called out, that's when they started the Avodah? Amr Lo, and he said, no, Tanya Ben Gever, we learned in our Mishnah, Ben Gever, Islach Lameimar Bar Tanagoyla. You can't say it means the son of a rooster. So therefore, it means that it's referring to Gever, it's Ben Gever, it's referring to a person. Therefore, there as well, what it means to say is that it's when you say that it means that the Kriyas HaGever, it means that the person called out. The Mishnah continued and says, Ben Beve Ala Bekia, he was in charge over the wicks. What does that mean? Shaya Mezaveg Psilois, he would adjust the wicks for the Menorah. Rav Yaisi al Kufa, he went to a place called Kufa, Bomimanya Loin Parnosim. He wanted to appoint people to be in charge of certain functions for the Tzorchei Rabbi. V'loi kiblu minan, but the people didn't accept the appointment. Nobody wanted to take the responsibility for it. All of Amr Kamei went up and he said in front of them, it says in our Mishnah, Ben Beva ala Bekia, it lists Ben Beva ala Bekia in charge of the wicks. Uma imse shenismana psila. Now he was appointed for the psila. See, adjusting the wicks is not such a major responsibility or a major task, and nevertheless, he was listed in the Mishnah with the others who were Gedolei Dor. So you see that if you take upon yourself a responsibility for the rabbin, how choshev it is. Atem, so you, Shatem Nismam Al-Chai Nefashis, that he wanted to appoint them over this responsibility of taking charge of the needs of the city, the vital needs of the city. So over here, it's something which is a matter of nefashos, like kol shekain, certainly that your covet will be great. You'll be great covet for it. So in that way, he encouraged them to accept the responsibility. Ben Arzai, it's also Ben Arzai, was in charge of the symbols. What does that mean? Kihad Tanina Taman, like we learned in the Mishnah. And we learned in the Mishnah in Talmud that it says, Yanev Haskan B'Sudorim, that when the Kohen Gadol went down to do the Nesachim, he poured the wine to do the Nesachim, then the Sgan, Heinef HaSgan B'Sudorim, the Sgan, the second in command, the deputy Kohen Gadol, would wave the with the Sudorim, the flags. Then that was a siman, that was a sign, Vehikish Ben Arza B'Tzilzal. And then Ben Arza, at that point, he banged together with the cymbals, and then that was a siman, that was a sign for the Levium to start the Shira, to the Shir Shel Yom, for them to do the song. Hugras ben Levi al Shir, he was in charge of the singing. Amar Ravi Acha Ne'imi Sera Hayedeh. He had a very good voice, and he could sing in a very beautiful voice. They said regarding him, as Koil B'Zemer, that he used to sing so beautifully. And when he put his thumb into his mouth, he could, in effect, as if he's playing a musical instrument. He could put his thumb in his mouth, and the sounds would come out, different sounds, different tunes, and now it's like he would be playing a musical instrument. And and his colleagues, the Kohanim, they would jump back because the voice was so strong, and it startled them and shook them up, and they would jump back from the power of his voice. Beis Garmo al Ma'aseh lechem aponim, they were the experts in charge of baking the lechem aponim. It needed a great expertise. So the Brisa says, Beis Garmo hayu became Ma'aseh lechem aponim or b'dios. They were experts on the baking of the bread and removing it from the ovens. V'lo yiratzu lelamid, but they didn't want to teach it to others. Shel chachamim ve'viu omonim el Alexandria. So the chachamim therefore felt this was improper and wanted to replace them, and they brought other experts from Alexandria in Egypt. They were also experts in the baking of the bread. However, but they were not such expert in removing it. They weren't such experts in removing it from the oven without breaking some of the bread. Beis Garmu hayu masikim bifnim, they would heat up the fire inside the oven, and they would remove it on the outside. So the way that Rash Sirlu explains it is that they put the dough in a mold, they put it in the oven to bake, and then they removed it after it was baked. They removed it from the oven and then removed it from the mold when it was outside the oven. And it would not get moldy, it wouldn't spoil. But the ones from Alexandria would fire the oven in the inside, and remove the bread from inside the oven. Before it was fully baked, they would remove it from inside the oven. So they were not such experts to remove it from a mold without cracking it, without having it baked. So therefore, they removed it from inside the oven before it was fully baked. So and therefore it would get moldy and spoil because it was removed before it was fully baked. So when the Chamim were informed of that, they said, whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu created in the world is for His honor. Whatever Hashem created is for His sake. So therefore, since the Beis Garma had this special expertise, it should be used for the Kovod of Hashem for the Lechem upon the Beis Hamikdash. So they therefore called them back. So they called them back, but they didn't want to come. They had to double their wages. Originally they received 12 mana. They received wages of 12 mana. And now they doubled it to 24. Rabbi Yehuda he says, no, originally it was 24, and they doubled it to 48. Why is it that you don't want to teach it to others and you want to keep this as a, so to speak, a monopoly for yourselves? They said, so they justified their action, and they said it's not because for personal gain. It's because we have a Kabbalah from our forefathers, that there will be a Churban. Therefore, we wanted to keep it exclusive so that the others should not know how to do this, make the special bread and use it for Avodah Zarah. So they wanted to keep it exclusively within the family, that it should be done and used only for the Beis Hashem. Now, there was the Chacham criticized them in the regard that we just mentioned, that they didn't want to teach it to others, but in the following manner, they praised them. What was that? White bread was never found in the hands of their children. Why is that? That there shouldn't come lidei chashad, that people will suspect them and they say, oh, they're using the lechem upon him and they're giving it to their children, they're feeding it to their family. So they never allowed their children to have white bread go out, so that would be clear that the bread that they had for the personal consumption was the bread of personal use, was not the lechem upon him, because it was clearly not the quality of the lechem aponim, the bread that was made for the lechem aponim. In a similar Maisa, based off Tinas on Maisa Keteres, they were the experts on making of the Keteres. Shel based off Tinas, Hayabaya Bekim Bepitum Keteres, B'Malaosh. They were experts on making the Keteres and mixing and compounding the Keteres, and also on Malaoshan, which was a herb, that grass that was added to it that allowed the smoke to come to rise in a particular manner, as we'll see. And they too did not want to teach to others. Similar Ma'aseh they sent messengers. They were experts in compounding Keteres. But they weren't experts in this, to identify this herb of Malaoshan so that the smoke could rise in a particular manner. The smoke from the burning of the Keteres of base of Tinas would go straight up, the column of smoke would rise straight up, and it would come to the ceiling, and then spread out and come down. But Shalelu, the ones of Alexandria, it would not rise straight up, it would just spread immediately. So the hitter, there was a much greater hitter in the Keteres of the base of Tinas. So once they discovered that, Amru, again, similar to like we said before, Kol Masha Baruch Kadosh Baruch Hu, whatever he created, L'chvayda Baruch, Shenemar Kol Anik Rishmi, L'chvayda Barosim. So whatever it was created for the covenant of Hashem. So therefore, they have this particular skill, the base of Tinas, it has to be used for the covenant of the Rebbein Shalom. So they sent for them to return them, but they did not want to return. Until they doubled their wages. So originally they took 12 mana, now they doubled it. Now they doubled to 24. Originally they were taking 24, they doubled it to 48. The Chacham asked them, why don't you want to teach it to others? Because we have this tradition from our fathers, that there'll be a korban. And we wanted to keep it a secret, so we don't want it to fall into the hands of others, unscrupulous people, or Avodah Zorah, that will use this for the service of Avodah Zarah, so therefore they kept it as a secret. So the Chum criticized them in this, that they did not want to teach to others, but in the following, they praised them. For the following mice, they praised them. What was that? The women and their family never went out in public with perfume, so that they should not be suspected of using it from the Keteres. If one of their women would marry someone from a different place, one of the conditions of the shidduch was that the woman could not have perfume. Why is that? So the people should not be chayshit them and suspect them that they're using perfume from the Keteres. So they were so cautious and careful with this to fulfill what it says in the Pasuk, and you should be innocent in the hands of Hashem and Yisrael. I was standing in Yerushalayim, and I found that there was a child from the house of Beis of Tinas. He said, which family are you from? He said, Mishpachas Pliny. He said, such and such a family, Beis of Tinas. They kept the secrets. They did not want to teach it to others. And they did it to increase their honor, and that would be a decrease in Kavod Shemayim. Therefore, their honor, the honor of your family was Kavod Shemayim Nisrabe, and Kavod Shemayim was increased. So it's difficult to see how Kavod Shemayim was increased because there was a korban. There is other girsois that have that it's now that the that there's a covet, their covet, your family, has been decreased, and the covet shemayim, the covet kvoid mokim b'mekayma. The kvoid mokim b'mekayma is in its place, has not been decreased. Others learn that the pshat is, according to our girsa, it means that it doesn't mean it literally, it means the lotion of sagi nor. It means they wanted to increase, your family wanted to increase their covet, and at the expense of covet shemayim, and now there's been a miyut of both covet shemayim and the covet of the mishpacha, because there was a churban. Amar Rabbi Kiva Sachli Shimon ben Luga, he told me the following: when I was gathering herbs and grasses, also I was gathering it up. I was gathering this with one of the children from the family base of Tinas. And I saw that the child was crying. And then he laughed. I said to him, Beni, lama bachisa, why did you cry? Amrli al kavod shel beis abash in his mind, because of the glory of the honor of his family that's been decreased. They had the kavod of time based on mikdash, and now it's been decreased. And now it's lost. V'lo masachakta. Now, why did you laugh? Amrli al kavod amasukan l'tzadikim lasad lomi. Because of the tzadikim, the kavod for tzadikim, they also love it. That they will be ultimately they will give them the covet also lovely. That so some learn that the pshat is that there will be the rebuilding of the base of Mikdash and their honor will be restored. Umarai says, so what was the catalyst of this? What triggered these emotions? He said, Mala Oshan Lanegdi. We were looking through the grasses and I saw this herb of Mala Oshan, which was the secret ingredient that they used to make the column of the smoke rise. I said to him, Beni, Hareoli, show me this grass. Omar Li said, Rebbe, Mesoras B'Yadenim Avesenu, Shaloi Laharais Labria. We have a Kabbalah not to show it, to keep it a secret, not to show it to anybody. So I can't show it to you. Amar Yechon ben Nuri, he said, an elder person of the house of Beis of Tinis met me, Megillah someone and B'Yodeh, and he had a Megillah that had the different ingredients that were written in it. And Omrali, he said, Rabbi Lishavar Hayu Beis Habatz Nuim. He said, previously the people of my father's house were tznuim, were secret, or trustworthy, or discreet. V'hayu, and they would moisrim es Megillah zois el leilo, and they would give this Megillah only to one another. They wouldn't hand it out to others. But now that they're not trustworthy, so this is not safe in anyone else's hands. So therefore, Helech es Megillah, you keep it in safekeeping, and be careful with this. And it shouldn't fall into the wrong hands. So again, the idea that it should be used exclusively for the avoid of the base of Mikdash and not fall into the hands of the avoid of Zorah. It says Rabbi Kiva, and when I related these words to Rabbi Kiva, Zolgo Ein of Demois, he started to cry, his eyes flowed with tears, and he said, V'omer me'ata ein la'askirim l'ganai. And he says, from now on, we should not mention the family anymore in a disparaging way. We should not criticize them because we see that it was l'shem shemaim. They kept it a secret so that it should be used exclusively for the kol shemaim and it should not fall into the wrong hands.